In today's America, the question isn't just what people believe. It's whether we can even agree on basic facts. Can we really debate someone who says that 2 plus 2 equals Thursday? That's where Rob Reiner and Piers Morgan clash. Let's get into it.
You pushed back at that. You said that you didn't have to do that.
No. What I said to him, if you listen to the whole thing, what I said is I'm happy to talk to people I don't agree with. I do it all the time. I mean, I'm open completely to doing that. But what I said to him is, when you're having a discussion, and I just watched the discussion you had with the ambassador, which I thought was really interesting. I mean, and I admired your ability to, in a way, it wouldn't be mine if you were one of the people helping to solve that situation there, because you had some very good points about releasing the hostages. But what I say is, I'm happy to talk to anybody who I disagree with. And I've been on, Tucker Carlson's show. I've been on, Laura Ingraham. I will do that. But when I have a discussion with somebody I disagree with, we both have to at least start with 2 plus 2 is 4. If we both agree on that, then let the discussion start. But if I say 2 plus 2 is 4, and the other person says 2 plus 2 is Thursday, or whatever, or 2 plus 2 is 5, whatever, there's no real way to have a discussion.
And that's the core of Reiner's point. If you can't agree on basic reality, how can you even begin to debate?
You can't talk to people who don't acknowledge certain realities.
Right, but that was the point. That was really what I was getting at. And what was interesting, yeah. Bill pushed back at you because he said, actually, that's exactly when you need to engage with people, because you don't know where they've got their information. They may have seen it on social media. They may have, seen a TikTok.
Here, Morgan, flip it. He argues those are the very people you must engage with, or else falsehoods just spread unchecked.
Whatever it may be, people get led down rabbit holes. They get to see a certain version of an interpretation of facts that may not be yours.
No, you're right.
But actually, so I was going to ask you just a question, just now you've had time to think about that chat with Bill, whether he gave you cause to just perhaps rethink that, because I found myself siding with Bill there. And I've got a lot of respect for both of you, but I felt like I sit down with people who I believe their interpretation of facts is completely skewed. I do it all the time. But I do think it's important to try and have a rational conversation with them about it.
Yeah, no, but you just said something interesting. Their interpretation of fact.
Right.
Fact is fact. I mean, there's no such thing as alternative fact.
Reiner won't budge. To him, facts is facts. No spin, no interpretation. But Morgan keeps circling back to the importance of open dialogue.
Well, let me give an example of what I mean. So I was on a political show called Question Time, BBC's big political panel show in the UK last week, and Bonnie Greer was on it, who's a very long, experienced left-wing commentator. And she has repeatedly called Donald Trump in the last few weeks Adolf Hitler and his supporters Nazis. Now, I would still sit down with her and I would have a conversation with her and I would try and debate with her. I did it in public on that panel. And yet there's no way anybody in the world will ever persuade me that what she is saying about Trump with those categorizations is factual. So by your yardstick, I shouldn't sit down with Bonnie Greer or try and have an argument with her.
No, you should, because because here's the thing, that's not fact.
Right.
She may think it's a fact,
but she thinks it is the point, right? That's so my thing about interpretation. So my thing about the interpretation aspect is that
I hear what you're saying, Piers, and I understand that, and I think you should be able to engage in that and try to convince people that what you think is fact is in fact not fact.
Right, and I think that's
you can have that conversation, and you should.
And that's the point I think Bill Maher was making to you, which I thought was really interesting, because I believe that. Listen, I get people on this show all the time who vehemently disagree with each other, but I think there is a valuable public service in having all the arguments aired, all the sometimes outrageous and completely obviously wrong interpretations of facts, but having people challenge them in real time, and the viewer hopefully reaching a place where they can see reality unfurl before their eyes, rather than what has become, I think, fueled by social media, so much toxic tribalism, where people disappear into their tribe. They exist in kind of these weird echo chambers where they only follow people who agree with them. And they start to become very self-righteous about their worldview. And I think that is a path to real danger.
No, it's not only a path to danger, but it's where we are.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, it is where we are right now. And it is unfortunate. And we should be able to have that discourse with somebody who you totally disagree with. And what you're trying to do, hopefully, is either have them come around to your beliefs or find some place in the middle, like you were doing with the ambassador just now, to find a place where you can come to an agreement. And there are places where we all can agree, you know, and I think those are the things that we have to build off of. For instance, you know, recently we saw the thing with Jimmy Kimmel, where he was taken off the air, and then, you know, shortly after he was put back on the air. And that was about First Amendment right, freedom of speech. And, you know, in our Constitution, the federal government is not allowed to meddle in freedom of speech. It's why you're allowed to be on the air to talk about what you want. And we're talking now, and I can say what I want. And we can all agree on that. We can all agree that we, especially in American democracy, according to the Constitution, we all have a right.
So here's the big question. Do you refuse to engage when 2 + 2 = Thursday? Or is that exactly when the conversation has to happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and don't miss the next breakdown.